You want to know more about food photography? You're in the right place. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thomas Love here from beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, and today I'm thrilled because I've been assigned a new project with food photography. Now, I'm not new to food photography. I did plenty back in the days when I was traveling. I was holding a travel column, I was shooting for restaurants, we published a book. But this is a very big project, and since now I'm having the channel, I want to share with you how to prepare the food, how to prepare the camera, how to set up the lights in different locations. If you're shooting at home, if you're shooting at the restaurant, if you're shooting on the go, what are the best practices? And I will be using my one lens only, which is my Leica Q2, which is plenty. Probably I will have a second tripod with a little pixie aside to get different angles, and then probably I will have to set up a different camera to shoot and to record all the processes, because while I am sharing the end result here, and it will be a quick tutorial here on this channel, on my Patreon I will be sharing also the behind the scenes. So every discussion, every setup, any preparation, you will find it up there, and you will find a quick and dirt version here because I don't want to keep it so long. I just want to show you what are the best settings for the camera and how to get the job done. So stay tuned with that. I will be showing you a few settings about photo bracketing and how to stack together the pictures that we're taking in order to get an HDR end result. I will be showing you how to use the settings on the Leica Q2 to the best, because it is the camera I am going to use. Normally for food you either use a 50mm glass or a 100mm macro, maybe a 85mm, whatever you have your hands on, guys. I discussed with my client because this is a wide glass, but it's good enough because it has plenty of resolutions, because this camera allows you to take the best out of the capture. So if you're ready, let's go rolling. Now we're gonna see together a few examples and the settings, because once you want to set up your bracketing, you go in here and you choose exposure bracketing. You also have to pay attention to a few settings inside the drive mode. So we're gonna go further exploring exposure bracketing, and we choose the number of frames that we want to have. In this case 5. I chose to shoot 5 frames within one EV step from one another. So the base one would be 0, and then plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2 f-stops with 0 exposure compensation. And please make sure the automatic is switched to on, otherwise you will have to keep shooting the shutter release button, while if it's on, it will take 5 photos by itself the moment you press it. And then what do we want to have? I normally use the spot focusing. So this is here, spot, and then I set it to AFC continuous, despite it will keep the focus in the same spot because I'm not moving the spot. Automatic white balance, and then I don't know why I'm having both DNG and JPEG, but make sure you have the RAW. And then here another choice that you might want to discuss or you might want to try, because if you are setting the ISO to 100 like I am doing, in order to have the exposure compensation and the photo bracketing, the camera will vary the shutter speed. While if you want to keep the same shutter speed, let's say 1/60th of a second like in this case, then the camera will adjust the ISO, but I will never let it do it that much because I want to keep the ISO as low as possible. I want to keep my shot as clean as possible. So my choice here is normally to give a given ISO value, like in this case 100, and then the camera will do the bracketing by varying the shutter speed. And then another thing that you need to be aware of is the f-aperture. Now, if you're using the lens in regular mode, I think 2.8 as f-aperture is plenty, because you will have a bokeh effect, but eventually if the dish is too big, you want to go down to 4. While if you switch to macro lens, you will have a smaller depth of field. And so even with 4, you are having the bokeh effect. Just make sure you don't have a bokeh effect within the dish, because if it's a big dish, then you don't want to have only a slight part of it in focus. You want to see the full variety of dish, and then eventually other elements like in the background or the garnishings in the same dish out of focus, but you want the main meal to be in full focus. So be aware whether you're using the lens in the proper position or in macro, because the bokeh will change slightly according to the f-aperture. Now, what normally happens is that you shoot RAW and then you're here with your photo. I've taken 2 different examples, one with the lens in normal mode and the other one with the lens in macro mode, just to show you. So what you normally do is that you take your picture and you are in RAW, and then you start playing with it. Maybe you want auto adjust to see what happens first. If it transforms anything, see, it will play with the exposure, with the contrast, whatever, but we don't want to do that right now, because right now we are taking all of the 5 pictures that we shot with bracketing, and we want to merge them all together. So we're gonna do this, merge to HDR, auto adjust and auto align. So you're sure that it was on a tripod, so there's no need to align the pictures, but it will double check with us, so it's a good thing. Say about a minute left, and then it will be merging photos and give you a high dynamic range out of the save photo. Please be aware that this was just an example, so I took a couple of pastries just to show you the level of details and what's happening when you do photo bracketing. As you can see, the settings here, it was always ISO 100, always f2.8, and this was with this shutter speed, while the other ones, now it doesn't allow me to touch them. See, this was 1/30th and then 60th. See, it took different shutter speeds because I wanted to do bracketing, but I wanted to keep the ISO steady as given. All right, now we have our end result. This is the HDR, and it's the result of the 5 photos that we have taken stacked together. As you can see, the level of details is unbelievable. Colors are great, the reflections of light, and it was a very quick setup with natural light and with just an additional LED pointed from the other direction. As you can see, this is a good result to be proud of. And then eventually we can do some reframing. But let's go to the second example that I prepared for you, because right now we were using the lens in a regular mode, while with the new example I switched to macro. So as you can see, the f aperture was 5.6, and in macro 5.6 gave us a shallow depth of field because I was focusing on this first third of this pastry, and as you can see, the rear part is blurred. So now we're gonna do the same thing. As you can see, I kept ISO balance at 100. Also for this example, we're gonna select the 5 of them, and then we're gonna merge to HDR, once again with auto adjust and auto align. And here it is, our end result. Once again, the level of details and the colors of this picture are very good. They're unbelievably good. And please be aware that I didn't do anything to this pastry, I just positioned it there. But as you can see, with the macro lens, you have a shallow depth of field. This was f5.6. With the lens in regular mode, it would have been enough to have all of it in full focus. So be aware when you're switching to macro that these things will happen, so your focal plane is very close to where you focus on. And this is macro f5.6, and this was regular mode f2.8. So with that, I hope you got some value out of this video. If you did, please remember to like it, share it on social media, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any videos to come, and I guess I will see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.